The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajudeen Abbas, has withdrawn the controversial Counter Subversion Bill, which proposed a fine of 5 million naira and a 10-year prison sentence, or both, for any Nigerian who refuses to recite the national anthem. The withdrawal comes in response to widespread outrage and opposition, with critics labeling the bill a draconian and anti-democratic bill.
The bill, which was sponsored by Tajudeen Abbas, the Speaker, was approaching its second reading, where its general principles would have been debated. The proposed legislation also included the same penalties for anyone who destroys a national symbol or a place of worship. We'll be joined to look at this conversation by legal practitioner Deji Adeyanju. Good morning, Mr. Adeyanju. Thank you for joining us. First, your thoughts about the fact that this bill came to light in the first place. You know, what it says, there was huge criticism leveled against this bill. So talk to us about your thought process about why and how it even came into existence in the first place and then passed through the first reading.
Yes, so thank you for having me once again. The idea generally is that bills that are sponsored by either the National Assembly or executive bill sent to it, you know, are subject to a lot of scrutiny. You know, is it in public interest? Is it in the interest of the economy? Is it in the interest of societal development, political development, and other sundry issues? But that's not the case with this bill. You know, I have never seen a situation where a bill, people are just analyzing the bill based on the fact that if you don't sing the national anthem, there are several other ingredients in that bill that suggest that the National Assembly is anti-people. Because no matter how you look at it, there are more critical issues around the economy, how to get our economy working, but the National Assembly, they are not concerned about that. They are concerned about gagging, freedom of expression, freedom of choice, freedom of thought, you know, and other freedoms, including freedom of assembly, you know, because this bill seeks to criminalize groups from protesting and even suggesting that the constitutional provision of freedom of assembly freely given to citizens now have to be derogated from. The bill suggests that protest groups must register. I have never seen this kind of thing before in my life. A situation where the courts, the plethora of cases have said nobody needs permission from anybody to protest. Nobody needs any form of advice about protest. And the Police Establishment Act is very clear about security agencies, especially as regards to the police, protecting protesters, you know, during protest. So I have never seen where a bill will now say, oh, protesters must register. This same bill also talks about the issue of if as a Nigerian, if you fail to criticize people who make remarks against the country, whether and it suggests that, for instance, it appears to me that this bill is also targeting the pro-Biafra agitator Simon Ekpa. That the bill was seeking to mandate Nigerians, and Nigerians must condemn whatever he said against the country. So I've never seen a situation where bills will be targeted against protesters because of the end bad governance, recent end bad governance protest. They started specific things to target protesters in the bill. They've started specific things to target people like Simon Ekpa and other people who are pro-Biafra agitators.
Yeah.
You know, so also the issue about compelling people to sing the national anthem. What of people who do not even have the mental capacity to sing the national anthem? You know, people who, the bill did not take into cognizance the issue of disabilities, the issue of pretext. How many of the lawmakers can even sing the national anthem? Either the old or the new. So these are some of the things that the legislators did not take into account. And this is why many people feel that this legislation should be running on a part-time basis. It should not be a full-time job.
Yep.
I think it's too much of idleness that gets them involved and engaged in things like this.
All right, Mr. Adeyanju, would it be more convincing?
You know, and we appeal to lawmakers, especially the Speaker of the House of Representatives, that the Speaker should get more busy with providing solutions on how to prevent crude oil theft in the Niger Delta, provide solutions about how to tackle unemployment. They should make a bill criminalizing and putting life sentence for corrupt officials, both in the National Assembly and in other tiers of government.
Yeah. I want to ask, would it maybe, be understandable if the bill is explained as thus? If it says that with regards to the national anthem, it's not failure to sing it, it is intentionally not wanting to sing it that is a criminal offense. And then also with protesting, if the bill says that it's not just protesting that is a crime. It is if your protest, if you sponsor a protest, if you fund a protest, if you encourage a protest that eventually leads to chaos and destruction and anarchy, would those make more sense, to be criminalized?
So then the bill will be taking away the freedom of protest, because if somebody intentionally or refuses to sing the national anthem, it's a form of protest. The person is discontented with something about the system that is not working. Like we saw Aisha Yusufa and Obi Pesele, So these people are protesting. It's a form of dissent, a form of protest. The Constitution has said people have the right to, the issue about freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. That someone can elect to say, I'm protesting, I'm not happy. But after all, we saw Fela Nicola Kokuti saying he will not, and Bekora Kuti, they protested in several ways. And even this president also protested in a number of ways. So it's a form of protest to say, yes, we agree that people must honor the national anthem in line with extant laws and obey, but people also have the right, because these rights, they are concurrent rights in the Constitution. One right in the Constitution says citizens have the right to protest, citizens have the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. Someone will say, oh, I'm exercising my right to freedom of thought. I don't want to be part of this national anthem, and I have my reason for not being part of the national. So the Constitution anticipates and respects everyone's opinion and freedoms. Secondly, on the issue of, if you sponsor protest, where in our laws does it say that someone cannot sponsor protest? Where in our laws does it say someone cannot? So, because to sponsor protest, you will not be the one policing. What then is the job of the security agencies to ensure that security is provided? So when security fails, you want to hold protesters responsible. You want to hold people that bought water, people that send food to protesters in good faith. All these things fall under the clause of good faith and actionable good faith, as the case may be. So you cannot hold people responsible for the conduct of others. It's criminal to do so, just like the way that you cannot arrest somebody in lieu of another.
So what does that then make the federal government? Mr. Adeyanju, what does that then make the actions of the federal government? If you're saying now that it is not illegal to sponsor protests in Nigeria according to the laws, and the federal government has put people on the watch list to be arrested because they have been termed sponsors of protests. And in fact, according to information that we're seeing, arrests have already been made, or they have started making arrests. What does that make the federal government of the day?
This particular government does not respect the Constitution, does not respect freedoms enshrined in Chapter 4 of our Constitution. This government acts as if it's a military regime, because in the last couple of days, the government has arrested almost about 1,300 people. Even Abacha did not arrest that number for protesting. Why will you arrest and charge people for protesting in a democracy? And we're not in a military regime. How can arresting people who say they want to end bad governance become a crime? Does the government want bad governance to continue? So these are the issues. These are the fundamental and general issues. The government is because the government does not respect freedoms of the citizens, and the government does not value that citizens have inalienable rights. That's why the government is harassing people and violating their fundamental rights. All the rights to freedom of assembly, right to freedom of speech, this particular government has violated it in the course of the End Bad Governance protest. So it is because, another reason is because the government also does not care about its human rights records. This was a president who protested against the military. protested against several civilian governments in this country. But all of a sudden, he does not like protests. He sees protests as regime change, like they said during the Council of State. Quite laughable. All the people that were part of that were people that have supported protests. Buhari, perpetual protester. This president is a perpetual protester. So I do not understand how protest suddenly becomes regime change.
All right. Final question. We need to go. I want your thoughts on the possibility of the bill being brought back, somehow, somewhere. If you remember the grazing bill and the number of times that it was brought back, somehow or seemingly fraudulently. Do you expect, that this would also come back? Or is Speaker Tajudeen Abbas, completely done with it?
Yeah, we hope that Speaker Tajudeen Abbas is completely done with that. Instead of focusing on irrelevant issues, they should combat corruption, they should combat insecurity, make bills that will help the country become more secure, make bills that will help the country generate more money, more forex, make bills, look, for instance, these issues around refineries. We should decentralize refineries. You should not build an economy around an individual, Aliko Dangote, where one person will be running an economy that supports monopoly. So instead of, I know that they are also involved in the Dangote gate, that we have seen allegations and counter allegations from lawmakers against and lawmakers for over corruption. So those are the kind of legislations that should be, the National Assembly should focus on, not issues, that seems to be anti-people. I've never seen a situation where the legislature takes policies that begins to directly affect on fundamental rights of the citizens instead of defending. The National Assembly should be an arm of government that defends the fundamental rights of citizens. So, Mr. Speaker should completely discard this bill into the dustbin of history, and the bill should never resurface.
Okay, I think my final question would be that are Nigerians taking it too far when they call for the Speaker to step down? Or would you say that maybe Nigerians are also right when asking him to apologize? Because we've seen different calls. Some asking him to apologize for even thinking of that, what they would refer to as a draconian bill, and others who are saying that he should step down. So do you think that Nigerians are maybe pushing it too far, or is that a rightful call?
No, the Speaker has done the right thing after public criticism. After all, government exists because of the people, and the voice of the people is the voice of God. Because sovereignty belongs to the people from wherein government derives all its powers. The Speaker has done the right thing. I think Nigerians should take the win and calling for the removal of the Speaker. Although in Senate clients, the Speaker will ordinarily have resigned. When you have done something wrong, you don't even need to wait for people. It's only here that people want to die in power. People want to remain in power forever. When you have done the wrong thing, you take a bow, you go honorably, especially when people are unhappy. There are so many things going on in the National Assembly that people are unhappy about. The jumbo pay, the recklessness, the open endorsement. They act as if they are lackeys and aides of the president. No form of accountability, no pushback. They approve loans after. Look at the IMF loan that has just been approved. Counterproductive to our economy. We're going to pay almost quadruple of that money in the distant future, and so many other issues. Those are the reasons why the National Assembly should be progressive. It should not be a rubber stamp legislature. So basically, I think Nigerians should take the win. The Speaker has acted appropriately, and we should hope that the Speaker will not represent the bill, and the bill be completely dead.
All right, thanks for stopping by this morning and for sharing your thoughts on these very important story. We wish you a great day ahead. Thanks for your time again.